Hello, welcome to the PinkUn YouTube channel. I understand I'm a different face. I'm not Dave Freezer. I'm kind of Southwell. I'm the brand new Norwich City writer. I've started this week, and so it's nice to introduce my face to you all, and hopefully I'll be seeing a lot more of you. And I've picked probably the perfect game to start in terms of Norwich City, coming off the international break, facing English champions and powerhouses of world football, I suppose, in Manchester City. Pep Guardiola, of course, captain of that particular ship. Let's speak about Norwich first and foremost, though, going into this game. Obviously, coming off the back of a pretty poor defeat against West Ham in terms of performance, and now Daniel Farke's got more conundrums to solve in terms of his injury, his injured players, and how he's going to solve those riddles presented to him. Max Aarons went off for the England under-21s in the week for a protective boot on his left ankle, obviously caused many Norwich fans concern. It doesn't look like he's going to play on Saturday, which will mean a first Norwich City start for new boy Sam Byram, of course, who signed from West Ham in the summer. His last game in the Premier League was for West Ham. They lost 4-1 to Swansea in that particular game, and I think he was playing as a right winger, so fingers crossed he can have a bit of a better Norwich start. But he does have Premier League experience, something that perhaps we don't associate with this Norwich City side. And then, of course, Tom Tribal, who suffered injury woes of his own. It'll be interesting to see whether Grant Hanley is fit enough to come back into that back four, and whether Ibrahim Amadou then takes the onus and steps forward into that defensive midfield position. In terms of offensively, will Farke change it? Will he move Cantwell in or Buendia into a more central position for Steedman, who perhaps there have been question marks around his Premier League form? But really, for Norwich City, this is going to be perhaps a case of limiting numbers and also displaying their defensive nous and their defensive resilience, because I think associated with this Norwich side is quick attacking play, and when you've got a side of the quality of Manchester City with all the money, I think it's, if you look at the spending charts, Man City top it and Norwich are at the bottom. I mean, 32 times more Manchester City have spent on their squad, which I suppose leads us on nicely to the champions. Pretty unstoppable at the moment. They seem to be in that sort of mini league. I think in the Premier League there's bulks, and Manchester City seem to be at the very top of that with Liverpool at the moment. Seems a bit of a two-horse race in terms of the Premier League title. Obviously, Pep Guardiola has pretty much transformed it into, he's almost in his image, similarly to what he did at Barcelona and Bayern. He seems to have control of that. Obviously, the finances to do so. Obviously, some fantastic footballers there. One of those is Kevin De Bruyne. A sensational footballer, probably the footballer I wish I was back when I was playing. He has the ability to unlock any defence with his technique in terms of passes. I think some of the passes that he makes you sort of open your mouth and think, wow, you know, is a really sensational footballer. But to be honest, I could stand here and list all 11 of Manchester City's operators, I think, in terms of how their makeup goes into Saturday. Obviously got Raheem Sterling, who's in fine form in the Premier League. He's scored 5 goals, 4 of those away from home. Obviously in the form of his life in terms of internationally, played really well for England yesterday as we record this. And then you've got the Premier League's top scorer in Sergio AGUERO, who seems to keep coming back, and whenever people write him off and perhaps think Gabriel Jesus is going to take the mantle and grasp it and go forward, AGUERO comes back into that slot. So it's a pretty terrifying prospect for Norwich City this Saturday. It's going to be intriguing to see whether they can implement their offensive style onto the game as much as perhaps they'd like, and as much as Daniel Farke reiterates is the aim in this division, because it's going to be about how well and for how long they can contain Manchester City. Worth noting, the 2 previous fixtures at Carrow Road ended 0-0 between these two sides. I think if this one ends 0-0, most Norwich fans will be absolutely delighted with that. Yeah, that's your preview for Norwich versus Manchester City at Carrow Road on Saturday. A bit of a little look at Manchester City, who of course suffered injuries themselves. Aymeric Laporte went off with a knee injury, and they've also got the Champions League to think about Wednesday, where they go away to Shakhtar Donetsk before playing Watford next Saturday. So maybe ideally Norwich will wish they were on the other end of the week. But there you go. I suppose there's no good time to play them, but after this game Norwich do have a fairly favourable run of games in terms of perhaps opposition that they might favour getting some points out of. Thank you very much for watching, and no doubt you'll see plenty more of my face soon. If you like the video, leave a like and make sure you subscribe to the PinkUn YouTube channel. We've got plenty more coming up as well. Thank you very much.